So here is the fun mermaid card we're going to be making today, which she's pretty cool just by herself, the fun shimmery waves. But the fun, most amazing thing about this card is that the mermaid tail waves at you. Isn't that so fun? I love it. Now to make this, we're going to be using some really fun products today. Of course, we're going to be using the Magical Mermaid stamp set, which yes, yet again, I still have not gotten my new stamp set in. This is no longer available in wood. This is the wood set I'm using today, but it is still available, but it is in the new amazing cling mount. But the designers are all the same, but it's not in wood. The wood is retired, but it is in the amazing cling. Besides this, we're going to be using to do the amazing mechanic, we're going to be using the Cuckoo Clock Thinlet dies. Now that's how we're making that tail do the fun mechanic of waving. So I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute. Now we're not using the coordinating stamp set, but that is available as a bundle. So I did want to point that out. So we're not using this, but it is available if you want to bundle those together and save. Alright, so besides that, we're also going to be using the High Seas 3D embossing folder. That's how we're making these gorgeous waves that you'll be seeing here. I'm not going to be showing how to emboss it in the video, but I did want to also point out that there is the new 3D embossing folder plate. Now Stampin' Up! Does recommend this for using this new embossing folder. It is really awesome. It's the only folder plate you need, and it cuts it out perfectly. So did want to point that out. Available in the store right now. So off the side. Okay. We're also going to be using this amazing peacock foil, which is gorgeous. Comes in 12 by 12 packs. Besides this beautiful Bermuda Bay color, there is also in that same pack this gorgeous dark royal blue color. It is just absolutely gorgeous. Whoop, and I dropped things on the floor. So definitely a must buy. So wanted to mention that. So, all right, moving on. Oh, leave that there. All right, so we're going to be using a couple blends to color our mermaids today. So not a ton. Let's do that off the side. We're going to be using the Old Olive blend combo, light and dark. We're going to be using Poppy Parade, light and dark. And we're going to be using, this is just Ivory for her skin. So not a crazy amount of blends. Let me just put those down instead of holding them in there. Not a crazy amount of blends today. Besides those, we've got a couple colors of ink. Of course, Memento as our stamp color. Crumb Cake for a little bit of sand there. Little Pool Party for our sky. Bermuda Bay for our words. But you could also do that in the Memento if you prefer. Okay. Goes off to the side here. We're also going to be doing a teeny bit of sponging for the sky, the sand, and our rocks. So I've just got a couple sponges here. For our paper today, we're going to use some thick Whisper White for our card base. We're going to be using a little bit of Smoky Slate for our rocks. And I already mentioned our background foil there. We're also going to be using a little bit of scrap for both our mechanic that we're going to be using for the tail, also for stamping our mermaid on, and for cutting out our sentiments. So that is all going to be with that thick Whisper White. So not a lot of extra papers. Okay. Besides that, we're also going to be using a little bit of Wink Stella today to give our mermaid tail some glitz. I'm not sure how well that's reading in the camera, but our mermaid tails have a little bit of shimmer and shine on them. These are just the Wink of Stella Clear, because mermaid tails got to have a little bit of bling. So hopefully that reflection is showing up in the camera as I'm moving it a little bit. But in person, it's beautiful, trust me. Okay, hopefully it's catching a little bit. All right, there we go. Okay. All right. Oh, and then of course, definitely need our paper snips, our liquid glue. Oh, and I'm forgetting the punch to punch out our sentiment. Now, if you not feeling the circle, you could also do any other Stampin' Up! Punch shape if you want to do a different shape. It doesn't have to be a circle, but I was just feeling like a circle the other day. We're also going to need, and I'm for this video going to be using the Stamp-A-Majig for some reverse stamping to do the backside of the tail. If you don't have the Stamp-A-Majig, depending on when you're seeing this video, you could also just use a clear piece of plastic. Now when we get to this part of the video, you'll watch it first and you might be able to see what you have to make it work. So so you don't really need this part. I'm just showing you that so you know what I'm using. We're just going to be using this sheet. Okay. I think that is everything. All right, so let's get started. I will be doing a little bit of speeding up when we get to that part. All right. I hope you guys like this fun mermaid card. I did do a couple other variations and I have been playing with this. I am so in love with these cuckoo dies. I honestly, when I first saw this set, I was not as thrilled with it. I mean, cuckoo clocks are not really my thing, but I saw another demonstrator and I will definitely give her a shout out in the comments because I did not write her name down before I did this video. And she did some amazing things with this set and inspired this video, so which gave me the idea. So, all right, so we've got our wonderful Whisper White card base, and I went ahead and took my foil. And this is not the piece I cut. Where's the other piece? Oh no, that moment when you have like the giant pile of things. Oh, no, here's the right piece. Okay. Okay, so the other piece. Okay, so I took my piece of foil and I went ahead and cut it. Now, this is about a 3-inch strip. Now, when you run it through with this amazing folder, this is a pretty big folder when you do like a giant piece, if you see what I mean. Giant piece. And I actually like to leave it longer than my actual card for when you do the die. Now let me also show you this too, because this is actually a pretty handy tip. Let me grab the die real quick. Here it is. So a couple things with this die. So this die is designed to coordinate with this stamp set that we're not using. But it's kind of a weird looking die. So when you line it up, see, this is the stamp set it was designed for. So it has these little hearts on it that are really cleverly designed to line up with the hearts on the stamp set that we're not using. So when you're looking at lining up for this particular project, you can totally ignore these hearts on here because they're just going to confuse you. So, but what is handy to note is the triangle on here is the top. So when you're lining it up for your waves, you do need the top of your triangle heart to be the top. You don't want it the other way. You need your hearts facing up, okay? So when you're lining it on your waves, you want this part facing up. Okay, and you run it through whatever your machine is, preferably with your amazing new folder. Okay, the other thing too, so I know it's kind of confusing, like where is it cutting on here? You need to cut both of these little slits. Now this piece is cutting 2. Now this is where your bottom little pull tab is going to be coming out. And you'll see it when we thread it in a minute. Okay, so don't concern yourself with the bottom heart, but it's cutting right there. Hopefully you can see that right there. It's cutting right there. Okay, and it's cutting right there. So ignore that part except for this is the top and this is the bottom. All right, so the other reason I wanted to point this out to you as well, and the reason why I cut mine wider than my card, is when you're lining it up, is you do want it to kind of be straight, but you also don't want to put it up super high or super low, because if you put it down super low, you don't want this little bottom piece cutting below your card, because then you can't thread your bottom pull tab through if it's cutting below where your water is, if that makes sense. Okay, So we want both slits to cut on your water. Okay? So that's just my main tip. When you're cutting this piece, you want both pieces on the water. So don't put it too high, don't put it too low. The other thing is I don't want you guys to put it too far on one side or well, I guess the middle isn't too bad, but just don't put it too close to the edge. So that's why I kind of want you to not cut it to the card size yet. So that's why I went ahead and did it this way. So now after you have it cut, and then we can go ahead and cut out our little tab piece next. So our tab piece is this other piece out of the die set, and it looks really weird. It's like a weird spoon piece. So this is really the only two pieces from this die set that we're using. We're using this weird triangle piece and this long spoon piece. All right, so this one just cuts out our little slits, and this piece cuts out this long weird piece right here. And I definitely recommend cutting it out in the thick Whisper White. The thin will work, but the thick holds up better, honestly. All right, so next what you're going to do is it's going to cut that piece out, and we're just going to fold. It's got a nice little crease. We're just going to fold it along the crease, just nice and gentle. Fold it along the crease. And that kind of gives it a nice thickness. Then you're going to take your multi-purpose liquid glue and just give it a nice little thin line down the crease, just like that. And just give it a little squeeze. Kind of give it a little hold. And just let that glue set up for a minute, okay? Just like that. Now the other thing you'll notice on this is there is a tiny little ridge right below. Hopefully that's going to show up okay. Yeah, look in the camera here. Zoom in. Okay, well, if it doesn't zoom in, you'll see it in a minute. There's a tiny little ridge right below the forks. It's a little crease. I'm going to just give it a little gentle bend back and forth, and that is going to bend on our card in a minute. All right, it should be pretty dry. Okay, so now we're just going to take this, give it a little thread. It's going to go in, and do make sure there's not any loose glue. Okay, going to go in, and then it's going to tuck and pop out. Just like that. See, just like that, nice and easy. Okay, and we're just going to very gently tuck those little two tabs. They're going to go under the water. 1 and 2. So all you see is just the little head of the flap. So all you see is the head of the flap. It shouldn't have to be rough with it. No hard pressure, just gentle pressure. Kind of give it, just kind of flatten it down a little. Just like that. Okay. Now if you give it just a gentle push, it should go back and forth. Now, do we need to kind of see how it's looking on the back? Flip it over here. So what's happening is as you push it, it's pushing, let's see, flip this over here. As you push it, it's pushing that whole flap, okay, in frame, whole flap forward, and whole flap back. Forward, whole flap back. Just like that. So it's just the flap. Yeah. Yep. Okay. as I said. Nothing, no really hard pressures or anything. Okay? So that's the basic mechanic of this. So now we're going to build up on that. So the reason that I wanted you to go ahead and do that part first is so after we stamp and build our tail, we want to make sure, and I did not do it correctly on this card, so you can see that when I try to put this in an envelope, this card is not going to fit. It's going to be poking out. So when we go to build our tail, I want to make sure that my tail is not going to be hanging off the card, which I did not do well on this one, so before cutting it. So as you can see, this right here, place my tail kind of on there to where it's not going to be, oh, in frame, there you go, on there to where it's not going to be like totally hanging off. There we go. Then it's going to fit in an envelope. You guys follow me. All right. Okay, so let's move on. Hopefully I didn't lose anybody there. Okay, so we've got our basic cut out so far, so let's keep going. Do some sponging, do some stamping. Move that out of the way. Go. All right. So let's move on to stamping and coloring some mermaids and our card bases and get all that squared away. So, and as I said before, and I know I did a big boo-boo. I did not order my new mermaid in time, so I'm stamping with an old mermaid. I know, it's not good. Alright, so, yet again, the wood block is retired. But, anyway, just some memento, stamped straight down. Pretty straightforward. Easy peasy. We have a mermaid. But to be able to do the back side of the tail, you have to do reverse stamping. Otherwise, it doesn't match because we've got the kind of the curve of the tail. And so, for that, we need to be able to reverse it. And sadly, especially because it is a wood block, it's a little trickier to get that reverse stamping just right. Because I can't throw it on a stamparatus unless I unmount it, which I'm still not very good at yet. I know some of the other demonstrators are a little better at unmounting. I'm still a little scared to unmount some of my wood stuff. Not that I have a lot left. Anyway, but I'm just going to show you guys how to do this, and hopefully this doesn't look awful when I try it on video. Alright, so the basic idea is this. This one's a little smudgy, but we're going to take it, we're going to stamp it on our clear. And if it doesn't come out perfect, it's okay. It's going to be on the back side. You're not going to see it a ton unless you flip it a whole lot. We're just going to go straight up and pray it's not too bad. Could have been darker, but that's okay. All right. I'm going to take it. I'm going to press it. I'm going to just rub it. And if you have like a brayer, but you can do that too, or just a thumb. Just using my thumb. Roller works. The other thing too is we don't necessarily need the whole mermaid because we're only just going to be using her tail for most of it. And it's probably going to smudge a little bit, but mainly you just want to go down and straight up. Well, actually turned out pretty good. Hey, go me. All right. So that's the basic idea, is you're just going to get the reverse image for your tail. Alright, so I'm going to show you how I did my mermaid coloring. And of course there's 100 different ways you can color her. This is just kind of what I did for this one. Alright, so we've got our basic blends here. Pretty straightforward. There we go. It turned out pretty good. All right, and by the magic of television, look at there, I have one already cut. Ta-da! Move that off to the side. So yeah, pretty quick and easy with that. And so you do the same thing with pretty much all the other ones, and we're just gonna fussy cut them out. Make sure we're still recording. Okay, good. And then also with our reflection, for that we are only going to be needing just the half of the tail. So for that, which actually I do need to go ahead and cut one of those out real quick. So for that, I would only do probably about, say like maybe like there. Which I know seems kind of awful to cut a mermaid in half. Normally I would cut it first, but I'll color it first, excuse me. But, which I'll color real quick. But because we're going to be sandwiching together to do that flapping tail in the water in a little bit, yeah, we don't need the whole. Right. Oh, there's that other one. Okay, so there's one more left. Okay. One more quick tail to color. So now we have the mermaid's tail. Wonderful. Alright, so this is going to be our mermaid for the rocks. And now we have the two tail pieces for the waving. So we are done with the blends for now. Alright, so we are good. So let's go ahead and do our tail mechanic, and then we'll go ahead and do the rest of the background pieces and put our card together. So for this, so now it seems kind of weird. I know we're not using the rest of the mermaid, so I probably didn't need to color her body. So we're going to go ahead and glue the bottom parts of the tail together first, and then we're going to glue it on. So I know it seems a little backwards, but it'll make sense in a minute. So we'll start by just gluing, glue. There we go. Just the bottom fins together and lining them up. I recommend whichever mermaid you stamped that looks the best, pick that as the one that's going to be on the front facing. Liquid glue is good because you can kind of wiggle it and line it up a little. If you didn't cut it exactly even, you can trim it up a little too before you stick it on the flap. Okay. And there's my scissors. Okay. So the other thing too is to decide about how much tail are we going to be showing for flapping purposes. So for this, looks like I guess I didn't. Okay. So we probably don't need to be showing arm. So we'll cut the arm off. There we go. There we go. All right. So I'm thinking that may be a little too much. So let's go back down. I'm thinking maybe like about that much, somewhere in there. You can kind of adjust however much, but you do want a nice flat line because it's a little easier to flap back and forth if it's a good straight line across. Or straight as you can make it. Oh. Oh, my two pieces weren't straight. Okay, here we go. Try it again. Okay. All right. That's pretty good. I'm going to trim that up a little bit as needed. And you can always sponge it a little bit if you think it needs to, some too. All right, so now we can kind of give it a little bit of a test drive here. Kind of just open it up a little and sandwich it on there and just make sure. The other thing too is you don't want to cut it too short because you don't want any of that flap to poke out. If you cut it too short, then you're going to see the little white flap, and that looks weird. So you don't want it too close to the end of the tail there. So that looks pretty good. The other thing too, if you're not sure, you can always throw a glue dot on there to test it as well. Okay, and back down. Okay. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so we're gonna do a little glue on both sides. A little glue. A little glue. And sandwich it on either side of the flap. And this hides the flap somewhat. I mean, you can still kind of see it, but it does kind of keep the magic. There we go. Give it a second there to dry. So while that is drying for a second, let's go ahead and grab our card base out. So next thing is we're going to go ahead and grab our pool party for our sky and our sponge at the ready. And then we're also going to be doing some sand with the crumb cake. So we're going to do the top and the bottom here in a minute. Also some other suggestions too, because everybody's might be thinking, well, your sky's kind of boring. Which, I mean, some people might be thinking that. So I did do another version where I did stamp some birds. Hopefully that is in frame as I'm thinking, oh, no, it's not. Okay, there we go. Let me move that off to the side for now. So I did do another version that had some birds. These are stamped from the High Tide stamp set. So you could throw some other things in there. We also do have some cute sailboats right now. And some other sets. Blanking on the name of it. That's awful of me. I love that set. What's the name of the other one with the sailboats right now? Anyway, it'll come to me in a second. Anyway, so there's a lot of other things that you could throw in on this card to make it really cute. But just to keep it simple and not to overwhelm you guys with supplies, I decided to kind of leave it blank for now. But, and you could throw clouds in there, all kinds of things. So, just throwing some other ideas at you. So, keeping it simple for now. Alright, so, woo! Okay, there we go. Alright, so first off, let's take our pool party. Fold my card a little better. Alright, we're just take our sponge and just give it just a nice light sponging. Just depending on how heavy or dark you go is how much cloud coverage our Little Mermaid gets. And just the main thing is just not to go all the way down, because then you're in beach territory. And I'm actually going to go a little lighter than I did in this one, because it'll probably look more like the first one. There we go. That's probably good. Good enough. Moving on. So now we're going to go ahead and do our little sandy, corally, I don't know, beach stamp set. Which there's not a ton of beach showing in this one, but I kind of wanted to do something. So I was like, this is a good stamp for this. So I'm just going to do just a little bit just on that bottom corner. Hopefully I did not just stamp that crooked. There we go. Just like that. So, which I mean, you could go all the way across if you want, but just like that. And then we're going to follow that up, and I'm not going to close that. There we go. Take that crumb cake sponge. Hopefully I'm not shaking the camera too much. There we go. And we're just going to sponge right on top of that. Kind of adds to that sand effect. I'm going to go up a little higher, just so you can see it. The water's a little short or something. Okay. That seems more than enough. Alright, there we go. Might be a little darker than I meant, but good enough. Alright, so we've got sand. We've got sky. All we need is our water and some rocks. Oh, we need to go ahead and grab our rocks. So for the rocks that our beach lounging mermaid is lounging on, I free cut them. So this is just a scrap of smoky slate. I had just around. And for the rocks, I just kind of did honestly, just some kind of ovals. So this was not necessarily anything planned, so I'm just doing that. So you think there was a lot of thought into it. There really wasn't. I'm just kind of doing big ovally blobs. Oh, okay, my watch caught. There we go. But what makes it look so really cool, honestly, is this. I grabbed a sponge and my black, and all I did is just inked it up and just went around the edge. This is what turned a piece of scrap into a really nice looking boulder. So just went around the edge like that. And then I went across the top and just kind of gave it just like a little distress mark. So now it looks weathered. Boom. And then just did a couple more just to kind of make it look like it's not just one solitary, and that actually might need to get trimmed. Where's our water? So we're just going to kind of build it up here. So boom, which see now this is the part I was talking about. Let me move this for a second so I don't get black on my arm. So now we need to start looking, and I'm probably, man, it looks like I might be about to do the exact same thing again. Oh look, see, it's like right on the edge. Or like bring it down a little, but if I bring it down too far, yeah, can't bring it over. See yet again, I probably should have put it over just a little bit further. Yeah, see, I think I yet again might have a mermaid tail that's hanging off a little bit, but I think I may just put it in a bigger envelope. But anyway, you see what I mean? You're just gonna have to be careful because it just kind of wants to hang off the edge. And I really tried this time. But anyway, the more you play with it, the more of these you do, the better you'll get with it. Alright. But, yeah, so we're just going to eyeball it here. Yeah. Yeah, because even if I move it over more, it's just going to be worse. So we're gonna say that's good. I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna grab a pencil and mark it and cut it, or some form of something to mark it. Mark it. Trim it. And exciting news, guys. I heard that we're getting the new Stampin' Up! Trimmer by the end of the year. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to share that yet, but I'm very excited. I know no other news besides that, but it's coming. Alright, so there we go. Now we've got our new Mermaid ready to go. Okay. So now we can kind of see, got that. And kind of stick our lounging mermaid here. Yeah, we might need to trim that boulder just a little bit. See, it's a nice thing about scrap boulders. It's not a big deal if you gotta trim them down. Okay. Shoop. And boop. See, she's just chilling. She's just chilling. All right. All right, and we still need to stamp our sentiment. Ah, no, there we go. I have things everywhere. Okay, and we still need to do 2 more little nothing boulders. So let's do those real quick. We are almost done, guys. These came together pretty fast. There's one. And there's a 2. Right, and just use this scrap to stamp our I'll Never Stop Believing. And this one I did in the Bermuda Bay. I'll just do this in this corner right here. Boom. With our 1 3/4 inch punch. But you pay no attention to the yellow sticker. That was just because I brought to an event. Flip and punch. Boom. There it is. And give that one a little sponging as well, just to give it a little texture, match everything else. There you go. Boom. Okay. Oh, and I forgot to mention too, which actually we could stamp with this, there actually is an arrow stamp in the Cuckoo set. So you can actually stamp that on this for the little pull tab. So you can actually stamp that to show you pull down instead of push up. Or you push, oh actually you push up, sorry, you push up instead of pull down. So might be worth mentioning instead of confusing people. All right, so do our 2 extra boulders here real quick. Yeah. Okay, almost there. Okay, boom, 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 boom. See, so quick. All right, sponges. All right, and did I put a dimensional on this? I did. I put dimensionals on this. I forgot to mention I put dimensionals on this. I apologize. And it looks like they were tiny dimensionals, so we will grab those. Okay, so let's put this all together. All right. Starting with the back piece. Boom. Well, I think I put regular dimensionals on this back piece, but I already started with the small ones, so we'll just keep going. So it is uniform on the back. Which I like putting dimensionals on anything that has something moving in the back, just because it gives it a little more room to move, honestly. Okay. Kind of components. And last one. Okay. Go. And we got our rocks. Make sure that I do like that there. So she's just kind of... Yeah. I kind of like the bigger rock better, but that's okay. Yeah, that works. So this one I'm just going to glue to the top part. She's just lounging like that. This one we were going to stick like right here, right? Almost like the rock has feet. There we go. Pretty straightforward. And what's nice about doing the Whisper White card base is you don't have to do a center on the inside. So pretty awesome that. And I think I actually may go ahead and do this awesome little arrow too from this stamp set because I have it and just because I want to show you guys too. Now this actually has a grid, little bars, which I'm not going to actually use the bars. I think I'm just going to stamp just a little teeny arrow just because I like the little arrow. Here's the black. If I had black, I'll just do it in blue. Blue works. So I'm just going to color just the arrow just so everybody knows you are not pulling, you are pushing, because that is kind of opposite of what people would want to do. They would want to pull, not push. So I kind of want to point that out. So I just color that little tiny arrow with a marker, and I'm just going to give it a little stamp. So if you did buy it as a combo, that's something you can stamp on there. All right. Thanks, guys, for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave me a comment telling me what you thought of this latest project. See you guys next week. Bye.